Hey everyone, it's Alex with Lover Fighter Writer, and I'm joined today by a very special guest, the Mess Express. Mess, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So it's been like over a year since the last time that we did this. Mess was, I think, my third podcast guest, or fourth maybe. And I know that it's been a crazy year and a bit for me, and I know that it's been a crazy year and a bit for you.
Yes. 2021 has been one hell of a year, but I'm very happy to be back on the show and I'm very excited to catch up with everything today.
All right. So I was wondering if we could make today mostly about Twitch and content creation, and maybe we can talk specifically about how beginners who want to get affiliated on Twitch can get started. Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
All right. So why don't you just give us a little bit of your background on what you do and how you got started in it?
Great. My name is The Mess Express. I have been a streamer for about a year and a half now. I have been a full-time streamer for almost a full year. It's been about 11 months, so coming up on my year. And I found Twitch on October 31st, 2018 on Halloween, by a YouTuber by the name of Casually Explained. I didn't have any plans on that Halloween, which is very unusual because I love Halloween. And so I was just really bored that night and just scrolling through Twitter. And he posted a tweet that said that he was playing some games on a thing called Twitch. And I was so bored that I was like, I have no idea what a Twitch is, but I am so bored and so curious that I'm just going to go check it out. And so the game that he was playing was Limbo, which is like a little spoopy sort of game that involves different puzzles that you have to go through. And so I joined the stream and I was like, wow, I think that he's live. Like right now, I think that he's like live streaming this. And so I was watching him go through these puzzles for a little bit. And I started to get really frustrated at him because I was solving the puzzles significantly faster than he was solving them. And so enough became enough, and I decided to make a username called the Mess Express to essentially backseat game him before I even knew what video games were, before I even knew what backseating was. I had never played video games growing up, so this was a whole new world to me.
Hmm.
I never played any of the classic games like Minecraft or Skyrim or Mario games or any sort of video game. I never ever touched. The closest that I got to playing a video game was when I would go over to my friend's house and play a round of like Rock Band. Like that was my knowledge of video games. And so I went on there to backseat game him, and he instantly, took notice to my username. There were very few people in chat, so he was able to read everyone's comment. And at the end of the stream, I was just like, wow, that was really amazing. That was so much fun. And so then the next day I went back again. And the next day I went back. And through time, I started forming some really, really strong friendships in that community. So over the next year and a half, as my friendships in that community are starting to grow stronger, they really started urging me to stream and like learn how to play video games. And I was like, I've never played video games before, but they always talk about these different video games, and I didn't know what they were saying. They're like, yeah, did you hear this new patch or this new DLC? I was like, I don't understand any of that. But I really wanted to be able to share with them. I wanted to be able to talk to them about that kind of stuff. And so enough became enough, and I was like, you know what? I want to learn about video games. And so my very first video game that I learned was StarCraft 2, which is a very, very, very steep learning curve. And so I learned that, and they really, really pushed me to start streaming. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll give it a try. And once the pandemic hit, I was like, all right, now I'm going to start streaming. And I set a start date. I told all of my friends about it, that, hey, this is the day that I'm going to start streaming. And then I never looked back. I started on April 19th of 2020. And then I was able to go full time that following February 2021.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, you grew on Twitch very rapidly, especially right out of the gate. So you kind of just got into that a little bit, how you did it by, you know, being part of a really engaged community, and by setting a start date and, you know, committing to it, and telling everyone that you thought would be interested. Is there anything else that you would recommend for people who are just getting started on Twitch and want to get affiliated?
I think for people who are in the very, very beginning stages, like between the 0 and 5 viewership, their biggest thing is letting their friends know that they're streaming. For me, I strongly believe that that is the easiest way to become affiliated. If
Mm-hmm.
you tell enough of your friends, like, I'm not just saying like posting on Facebook or posting on Twitter, making a general announcement. What I did was I specifically went into my friends' DMs and I told them, I was like, hey, I've decided to start streaming. I think that this is going to be really, really fun. I'm going to try it and I'm going to go all for it. And this is the date, this is the time. I would absolutely love to have you there. And you really make those messages very personalized. Then when the day comes, you know, then I messaged probably like 30 people that I was streaming. Like, you want to reach out to every single person that like you're close friends with or that you're at least comfortable with. And so then when my very first stream hit, I think I averaged the like 8 or 10 viewers, something like that. So it was pretty high for a very first ever stream.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the reason for that is because I reached out to so many of my friends and I sent them very personalized messages where I included that I really wanted them specifically to be in my chat, so that they get in there and they're like, all right, well, now my friend is, you know, expecting me to be there. I guess I have to show up. So for people who are in that 0 to 5 range, I think the best thing that they can do is like let their friends know. And then just have those first couple of streams that they do when it's like all of their friends are in chat, have that be kind of like a big hangout with your friends. Like, I think a really, really big mistake that a lot of beginner streamers do is when they start streaming, they instantly put themselves into like big streamer mindset. And when you only have like 10 average viewers, you can't do that. Like, you can't expect chat to be flying. You can't expect to not be able to read all the messages. You can't expect people to try to make conversation with you as a small streamer. It like, as a small streamer, the weight is on your shoulders to be creating that kind of conversation, to be creating that sort of community, if you will, or that vibe, that sense of, okay, here's what we're going to talk about. Okay, let me ask you guys the questions. Like, you put chat as sort of the VIP. Like, you're the one interviewing them. You're the one asking them questions. So when your friends come into chat, you can think of it more as like a hangout with them where, you know, you're asking them, oh, what are you doing right now? What's a game that you're really into? Wow, what would you do if you lived in this world of this game? And by constantly asking your chat and really, really, really engaging with them, that will really help it, so that when like newbies come into your stream, then all of a sudden they're really engaged. They're suddenly engaged because the streamer is so engaged on them. And I think that's a huge, huge thing that really helped boost me in the early stages.
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. I see you do this all the time. Or I mean, I'm not in your stream that often, not as often as I'd like to be, but I can really see you putting into practice that piece of advice yourself, and it's clearly working very well for you. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think that's great for people who are, you know, at that 0 to 5 viewership level, who and I know that a lot of people, not just like Twitch streamers, but content creators in general, people who want to get started will start creating content, and then they'll be like, oh, but I don't want to tell anyone about it. You
Hmm.
know, like, because they you know, they're shy about it, or they're not sure how people will react, or whatever the case is. But it can definitely be difficult to just start promoting yourself.
Absolutely.
But that's what you need to do for sure.
Absolutely. It's like at the end of the day, if you want to become a streamer and if you want to actually go through with live streaming, whether it's as a hobby or a career or whatever your end goal is, you streaming requires you to step out of your comfort zone for a little bit. And I think that that really starts from the very first stream and telling your friends, hey, this is a thing that I'm trying. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I would love for you to come, support me in that sense. And, a vast majority of your friends will, because they want to see you succeed. They want to see what this cool new thing is, and they'll absolutely support you in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. So once someone is getting more comfortable with streaming and they've got at least a couple of viewers coming by on a regular basis, what would be your next piece of advice for them to move on to maybe like getting 5 to 10 viewers?
Yes. Before I move on to that question, I just had another thought that I wanted to tack on to the end of my other answer, if that's okay.
Of course.
The formula that I used at the very beginning for engaging with chat is you constantly want to ask them questions, but there's a very specific way that you want to ask them questions. So a lot of the time, because you want to be talking constantly during your streams and you want your streams to be very, very engaging, what the formula that I use is I will ask a question. I'll say, hey, chat, let me think of a question. Hey, chat, how would you feel if you had to live in the world of Terraria? Like, what would your feelings be on it? And how well do you guys think that you would survive? And so immediately after I ask them a question, I answer the question myself. Then I say, you know what? I would be really excited to live in the world of Terraria because look at all these cute bunnies. They're everywhere and they're just so fluffy looking. And then I can just build my own homes. I don't have to pay any taxes and I can make whatever I want to make. And what that does is by me answering, it gives everyone in chat an opportunity to respond. So as they're typing out their answer is when I'm saying my answer. But then also another thing on top of that is after I tell them my answer, it gives them another thing to comment on. So if they're like, wow, you like the fluffy bunnies? There aren't any fluffy bunnies or, something like that. And so it gives them more of an opportunity to speak and engage with you. And then the final part of the formula is to then go through and actually read all of the answers that people say for whatever question it was. And then you engage with what their answers are like, oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that that's really cool. Or, I'm not entirely sure I would really enjoy a root beer float or whatever it is that their answer is. And creating some sort of engagement and dynamic with every single comment will really help build stronger relationships with all of your viewers.
Yeah, that's really, really smart. It almost reminds me of, or I mean, not the actual chatting with people part, of course, but the asking questions and then answering it yourself. That kind of reminds me of like radio DJs. That's I think one way that they can create engagement. And it's been a long time since I listened to the radio, but that's something that I remember from the days when I did. So that was a really, really great point to add. Do you want to move on to how people can grow further from like 5 viewers up?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So once you establish your just a couple viewers, like mainly your friends and maybe a couple others, I think the next important thing to start looking at are your panels, your graphics, your thumbnail, the titles of your streams, different profile picture that you might have, and just the general vibe and overarching theme of your entire stream. So, what I mean by that is your panels in your about section. You don't want to have it where it's super, super text heavy, but you also want it to be really informed. You want it to be eye catching, but you don't want it to have too many colors to where it burns people's retinas. You want to have a general color scheme, so you don't want to have all of your ideas being in all these different sections. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in and to learn about, graphic design and art and different things like that. And it's definitely a lot. But if you're able to get it right and really, really finesse that aspect of your channel, then you'll be able to start grabbing in a whole bunch of new people into your channel. So one of the biggest things that I recommend to people are their thumbnails. And so what I mean by thumbnails is when you go to the browse section on Twitch and you start looking at all these different streams, it's how your stream looks comparatively to everyone else's. So if you go to for example, let's say we'll Terraria, because I'm playing Terraria a lot. If you go to the Terraria category and you're looking, you're like, wow, I wonder which stream I want to watch. Well, because the streams are so tiny, you want your stream to really stand out. So if you just have a static image of the gameplay, no one's really going to click on your stream, because what distinguishes you from the next person who just has a static image of the gameplay, right? And so having some sort of colorful overlay, or having some sort of border around your stream. The biggest thing that I can recommend is having a super colorful border around your own frame. So in my streams, for example, I have a little Christmas frame going around me, and I also have Christmas lights on my border. And I have that border pretty thick. It's super thick. And the reason for that is because then when my stream gets minimized and you're looking at it on the browse page, that border specifically really stands out. And the first thing that people will look at is what's inside the border. And, because I'm usually laughing, I'm usually having a lot of fun on my streams, the thumbnail is usually a screenshot of me laughing and me smiling and me enjoying my time. And so people are so much more likely to engage with your streams and connect with your streams if they can see a clear picture of your face. And if your thumbnail itself looks really eye-grabbing. Similarly, also with your titles and your thumbnails go hand in hand, and they are two incredibly, incredibly important aspects of your stream. So if your stream title says something very, very vanilla, like, oh, playing more Terraria today, it's like, okay, I mean, that's an okay, it's an okay title, but it doesn't tell me anything about you as a person, and it doesn't tell me anything about what to actually expect with the stream. So for me, my streams are very much fun, giddy, lighthearted, and I try to reflect that in my stream titles as well. So my stream titles, I always try to keep them light. I always try to have some sort of really silly joke in there, or something really punny, or something that relates to what's happening to me in my life, or something that's happening to the game specifically. And by having those two different pieces, I think that you can really, really, really help propel your stream forward from past that 5-viewer stage.
Awesome. Yeah. And one thing that I would add here, which you can, of course, weigh in on what you think. But for someone like me, if I wanted to grow on Twitch, I think I would need to outsource a lot of that stuff that you're talking about, like I'm not good at design, so creating panels and creating emotes and creating an overlay would be really difficult for me to do on my own, and it probably wouldn't look good. So I would just say, there are a lot of free and affordable resources out there that you can use to create or get someone else to create these kind of assets for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are resources everywhere. And I think that that's something that is so great about streaming specifically is that there are so many resources available for people. They just have to look for it, really.
Yeah. There's so many great communities, specifically related to Twitch, that there's lots of people that are willing to help and just give you advice. So yeah, that's key is I guess is being able to ask for help and being able to look for stuff outside of just what you can do on your own.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember, I mean, I'm not good at graphic design either, but my very first panels, they literally, it was a black box with just a little tiny teal frame. And on the inside, it just said about. Like, that's how simplistic my very first panel was. And I mean, it worked. I had that for, the first couple of months. And really, the main thing is as long as you have a common color scheme and a common theme for your entire stream. So, my stream, it's the Mess Express. So, it's all about trains because Express is trains. And so, I wanted to make that very apparent from day one with like my emotes. But then with my panels, because like I'm not good at drawing, I'm not good at any of that stuff. I just knew what color I wanted to have my trains. And then I had that color scheme be apparent throughout my different panels. And even just something as simple as that will even help you. That even something as small as that will still help.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that might seem simple to you, but that's like actually pretty high level branding stuff.
Very true.
That's really great advice for that a lot of people just wouldn't think of because they don't have your kind of background in marketing and everything. Okay, so I'm actually running out of time here. So we're gonna have to wrap this one up. I really hope that we can do a longer interview in the new year.
Yes, I would love that.
Great. So is there any kind of parting thoughts that you'd like to leave people with?
Parting thoughts. Please subscribe.
Oh yes, of course. Give us your web addresses.
Yes, you can find me on twitch.tv/The Mess Express. I stream 5 days a week from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you can catch me over there.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely make an effort to be more present in your streams. I always enjoy hanging out and watching you game and responding to your hilarious questions that you ask. So I'll look forward to that, and I'll look forward to speaking with you again in the new year.
Yes, thank you so much.